What's happening? Yeah, what's happening? What's that? That's it, you got it.
What is up, everybody? My name is Dane Thompson, and welcome back to another episode of What's Happening? Woo!
Awful.
It's bizarre.
I'm working on the intro. We're trying to work it out. All right, it's only my third one. Anyway, my name is Dane Thompson. You're watching BurnDown, and this is What's Happening. This basically is where I go over questions that you guys leave me from the previous week, and then also what you can kind of expect to see next week. So this just fills in the gap for you guys, so that way I'm not doing one thing one week and the next week we're way over in left field. Granted, I am aware of that issue, so we're going to keep everything from here for quite a while just on Maliboom stuff, Maliboom parts, and then hopefully getting that thing back on the road. So we need some smoky burnouts and some freaking racing. We'll get into that a little bit on what we should be doing with that. But first, let's basically break down what I did last week, or this week I should say. We dropped 2 different videos on my Powerglide. So that was pretty much my weekend. Last weekend was working on that thing, at least while I was filming. And what I did is I got my core Powerglide, we broke it all apart, took it all apart, and then I put I keep calling it an Ultra Bell. It is not. It is the company's BTE's version of an Ultra Bell, but I don't know what they call it, so I'm going to call it an Ultra Bell, but it is BTE's version. I had a question on where to find it. Well, you got to contact BTE. I don't even know if it's actually on the site. Contact them directly. It's a better deal than a JW Ultra Bell. It is still SFI certified. Good people, great guys. They will take care of you. Call them if you need one. And then you can watch my video and I'll show you how to put it on. It's easy, although it takes a while, but it's really not that hard. So, first video, I basically blew the thing apart. I'd watched a few different videos, and it's funny because you watch all the videos and you see it, and then when you get there in real life, well, it's all pretty much the same. So you kind of feel familiar with it, like you almost kind of know what you're doing, even though I have no clue for the most part. But it was really not that bad. It's pretty straightforward, and then you just kind of keep everything in order. And then what I'll do from there is, like the clutch pack assemblies and stuff, when I break those down, I'll break it down all in the same motion and then clean it and do seals and everything and put it back together. And then I'll take all those components and reassemble a transmission. So that way, if you just blew everything apart, I think you'd have a big mess on your hands. And there's not that many parts in this thing though, honestly. I watched the 400, there's a lot more moving parts. These things, if you want to try to rebuild a transmission, you want to go racing, in my honest opinion, even from a rookie standpoint on doing this, this really is not that bad. So go get a Powerglide, put a 2-speed in it. You'll be rebuilding things, cut bell housings off. You're awesome. Plus, that was my second video. I cut the bell housing. All I used was 2 4-inch grinders because one got hot, so I had to switch out the 4-inch grinders so I didn't smoke it because they're the cheap Harbor Freight ones. So 2 cutoff wheels, and then I had to use flap wheel that I just cleaned stuff up with. It is easy, other than it takes time, because you don't want to just get in there all willy-nilly and freaking start hacking things up, because you're going to mess your case up, then you're going to have to get another case. So take your time, cut it. I kind of showed you how I did it. That should give you a good roadmap. It really wasn't that difficult, other than figuring out how I was going to do it. But now that I've done one and I kind of know the gist of it, I could probably cut one of those off way faster at this point, especially knowing how much I can actually just get rid of right out of the gate. So go watch the video if you want to do it. It's not that hard. You'll do one, then you'll be a master, and you'll just be making Powerglide Ultra Bell cases all day long. So with that being said, where we're basically at on the channel is we are kind of dead in the water right now with the Powerglide, because in the last video I basically ended it booing my planetary gear set.
Loser.
I have a 182 gear set, and I believed when I got the transmission it was a 176 gear set. The difference between the two is the case. The 176 is like a big cast monster that holds power, and the 182 is a stamped rinky-dink thing that is in my transmission. I have no idea what the power limit is on that. I think a small block, stock level, or even like an NA, like my 5.3 before the turbo, that thing, I think I'd still trust it and be okay with it. After the turbo, no bueno, dude. That thing, I don't know. It just seems like it's just bomb weight in there. And I really don't want to find out. So we're going to go 176. We're trying to make power. I talked to the good guys over at BTE. They sent me all the transmission parts that I would need to build that thing in order to hold roughly 1,000 horsepower. So I definitely have room to grow. And then I picked up this little handy dandy book. Actually came in yesterday. And I went through it. I dog-eared a couple things. And I actually contacted BTE this morning about a couple different things I found in there. One of them being the turbo spline, what is it? The turbo stator bushing. So there's a turbo stator bushing support that goes in said transmission in the book. And I was like, I don't have that. I didn't read about that. It's not my parts. So I called those guys. Well, apparently you can either have it in your converter or you can put it in the transmission. And you do one or the other. And typically the cheaper converters do not have them. So you run it in the transmission, as where a better converter, and then I'm going to have one specifically built for my needs. I'll just make sure that they put that in the converter. Then we won't have any issues, and we are awesome. So I don't need that part, and we are good to go. And then the other question I had for them that you guys may have that you run across if you do this, if you pull out the old 182 gear set and you get sad like I did,
loser.
Those drums are all the same. The piston sizes are different that actuate the clutches and steels that are in there, because there's a certain tolerance. So if you have the drum, you're fine. And then if your piston it's going to be too thick, right? Because I want to stack more discs in there, so that's going to be taller. So I can just have the piston itself machined. It's just a piece of aluminum. Fortunately for me, I have a friend that pretty much has an entire machine shop in his garage, and I will figure it all out, take it over there. If he's got to take a few thousandths off, we are still money. If you were doing this yourself and you do not have a machinist as a friend that has equipment in his garage, you're normal. They have different thicknesses on the pistons aftermarket that you can buy. So you would just measure all your stuff, and then you would go, okay, I need this, and then you can order them. And they're not that expensive. If I didn't have a guy down the road, I would just buy one. So I may still, we'll see. So those were the two issues I ran across. And that leads me to tomorrow, hopefully, because it is a 182 gear set. I need the 176, which holds more power. I found a guy that has one. It's a transmission shop, so he should have plenty of parts. But I found one that I can afford, and if I can get a hold of that, then we can get on to putting that thing back together. So that is what we are working on. If I can get that, we will slam this thing back together. And then I'm going to have a built Powerglide transmission, and we will move on to the 9-inch. So after this, it's for 9-inch building time. So two processes, if that's even two processes, two different chunks of meat. You know, they're both bulky items. So you got your engine, which most people are paying attention to horsepower and your turbos and all sorts of stuff. Well, you get all that dialed in, then you got to hold it. So then you're like, oh, well, now I got to look at my transmission. Well, that's what I'm doing. So now I'm focused on the transmission. So once that's good, making horsepower, we got that. Now the rear end has to hold it. So then we will focus on those things. But I'm hoping by the time this all gets worked out, that I could just get in the car and get some seat time. I know it's going to have issues and bugs and things, but hopefully it's not transmission or rear end related, and we're just chasing tunes and horsepower and trying to put that stuff down. On the upcoming on the channel, you can expect to put this Powerglide back together, is what I'm going to try to do. This Saturday, however, we're going to another Burnyard Bash. We're going to take my wife and her Camaro, so I'm going to get that for you guys, and hopefully this is less stressful for my heart. If you watched the last video,
Stop! Hey!
Oh God, I'm starting to go out.
I think she'll do good this time. Plus, I don't have a car to worry about. I will just help her, encourage her. She can make multiple passes and things, and hopefully it'll go a little bit smoother, considering this will be your second time. And I told her, I said, we just got to beat somebody. Like, I don't even care who it is. If I got to get my own truck out there and drag race her and kind of let her win, let's get her some confidence, get her some seat time, and I think she'll have fun. And that car should be capable of taking down a handful of cars that are at that track easily. So hopefully we can win one. That would be really exciting. You guys get to follow along when she actually beats somebody. I know she's going to go nuts, so we'll make sure we put a camera in her car. All of that being said, before I jump into questions or comments that everybody was leaving me last week, and thank you very much for each and every single one of those, I would like to kind of ask you guys what you'd like to see out of the Maliboom or possible events. So pretty much on my plate, granted, you know, budget constraints and everything else under the sun. Irwindale is my local track, so I'm going to try to drag that out there as many Thursdays as I can when the thing's running. But once the car kind of runs and it hits numbers, obviously there'll be a point to where I kind of know where the car settles, and that's fine. But there's other events too. There is zip tie drags in Tucson that I'm planning to bring the car out beginning of next year, and then we've got LS Fest next year, which is, I'm trying to bring the Twinnebago and the race car. But in between all of that, I don't really have any other events on my radar except for Rocky Mountain Race Week, which is probably a few years away. I'd like to get the car a little further along before we even attempt that, because at this point it would just be a waste of time and money. But that is one of my bucket list things, so I am doing that. Come hell or high water, we are going to get over there, and that would be amazing, an amazing experience. I know there's, like, Sacramento's a little far. Bakersfield wouldn't be too bad for me to go to. I know Barona's down there. They have some events, but what are some events for some of the local guys, or even surrounding states, Arizona, Nevada, somewhere that's not terribly far, that I could go and do? Like, what's out there once it's up and running? And then also, I'm building the car to, you know, kind of hit numbers, because everybody talks about what's the goal, what do you want the car to do? I'd like the car to do single digits, but until then, we've got a bunch of numbers in between to knock down. But at a certain point, whatever the car is running, if there's other people that are running a similar time, you know, within, you know, whatever, I'd like to race those people. I'd like to do some grudge racing. I'd like to race some YouTubers. If there's people on here, if you got a car and you got a channel and you want to set something up like Boogeyman did. Speaking of Boogeyman, he is putting a blower on the Camaro, so I know at some point he's gonna be looking for redemption. So I got you, dude. We'll turn it up. We are good to go. Whenever my car is running, your car is running, we could definitely do that again. But I know there's other guys on here as well. And if I do travel out of, you know, my little bubble and we're in like Nevada or we're doing any of that stuff, I'll give you guys a heads up. Or if there's events coming up and I think I can get my car out there, it would be fun to meet some of you guys and even race some of you guys. It is going to be a trans brake car, but for the guys that don't have a trans brake, if they want a foot brake, we'll do foot brake races or whatever. If that keeps me in the same time bracket as some other guys, I'm willing to do all that stuff too. I'm okay with losing here and there. I don't have a lot of seat time, but you know what? When you get out there, and I know that I'm racing the guy next to me, granted, you go to like test and tune, of course that guy's trying to go as fast as he can. I'm trying to kind of go as fast as I can, but it's test and tune. So if I let off or he lets off or whatever, you go, whatever. But if I tell you that I'm going to beat you and you say you're going to beat me, I don't care if it's test and tune or whatever it is. When we line up, I'm going to give it to you if I got it, and hopefully vice versa. So it makes it a lot. It really ups the ante, even if there's no money involved or whatever. It's a little more fun to me than just regular test and tune. And especially if I can get some YouTubers and other people that have cars going back and forth a little bit, and we can get a little rivalry going, it'd be fun. And it's all in good fun. You know, we gotta talk a little smack. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We gotta find some people that are willing to put themselves out there, talk a little smack, have a little fun. Because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. I want to tell you that I'm gonna whoop your ass, and that I hope you do the same. But when it comes down to it, of course, I want to win, or I'm gonna win. Anyways, enough about daydreaming about smack talking and whooping ass. Let's get to some questions that you guys left in comments, and thank you very much for each and every single one of them. And if I butcher your name, you're welcome, because I'm pretty much dyslexic. So, Kyle or Saka. Sorry, see? We're already butchering stuff. What converter are you running? What converter are you going with? Was pretty much his question. I spoke to the guys at BTE. I know about PTC. Everybody raves about PTC, and then Circle D seems to be like the third big player. Actually, it's Circle D and PTC for the groups of stuff that I run with or on the internet that I'm interested in. That's what everybody raves about. There's a couple local companies that I've kind of heard of that I'm kind of feeling things out, but ultimately they're all kind of around the same price. And then even the ones, if it's a little cheaper, I would just want to make sure I'm getting all the same stuff for the same price, because at the end of the day, I'm kind of pretty much leaning toward the BTE stuff, and they're going to be, you know, on the more expensive end, but I feel like they gave me all the parts, all the other stuff. If I run their converter, everybody, it's all together under one roof, and I can call them up and go, this is what I got, this is all the stuff, what do you guys think? Granted, I could do that with the converter place, and then when he blends in the transmission guy, I'll just say, well, you're talking to him, so let's work this out. So at least I have that in my favor. I don't have to say, well, call a transmission guy and the converter guy. I can just work with any converter guy because I am the transmission guy, essentially. Not a very good one, not a very experienced one, but I am going to be when we get through this and I'm hitting a number. Let's move on to question or comment number 2. Paul Bridge. He basically said that I needed to be careful of the trailer hitch on the Winnebago. And I believe you 100%, brother, and thank you for pointing that out. Mine is old, and I'm going to spend lots of hours underneath that thing, laying under there. And I would probably have noticed already, because I already have when we were towing it, that the whole back half section of that, it's like a truck chassis, and then they scabbed on a bunch of steel, and it is terrible. and that is what the tow hitch is connected to. So we'll have to reinforce all that stuff because I don't feel good about any of it under there. But thank you for the heads up. I know bubblegum when I see it, so I know that it is crap, and we will address that in the future. So thank you for that, brother. Stock IX, what fuel are you using? So in the Maliboom, quick story, initially it was just a 91 tune because it was easier to get fuel and I wasn't looking to chase horsepower. Then when we started chasing horsepower, I went to E85 when I was NA, just for the horsepower gain, which it did net me some more horsepower. But initially I was going to do flex fuel because I was like, oh, we'll just flex fuel and then I can just have my cake and eat it too. Well, when you do flex fuel, it blends the tunes, so you're never really at the top end of either tune, or you could just have a 91 tune and a flex fuel tune, which is what I'll probably do with the car if I want to ever drive it to a track. I'll just put it on 91 and drive it and then put it on E85 at the track. So I just run strictly E85, and then I don't have to screw around. And it's pretty much a race car. When I do drive it around, I'm not going on distance trips anyways. It does eat fuel, it loves fuel, and I love to put my foot in it, and I think that's part of the issue. They go hand in hand. But it's just on strictly 85, that way I don't have to screw around with blending the tune and all that stuff. And I know everybody loves to have the dual capability, but I don't really care. This is a car that's supposed to go fast. Why would I screw around putting crap fuel in it when I could just feed it 85 and it'll be happy? That's what you should do. Feed your car the happy juice and it'll go fast. XO2, you should look for a van with a 604 L80 swap for the Winnebago. I have a guy that owes me a motor and I have not been able to get a hold of him, so I don't think I'll be getting said motor, but I had a free 6-liter. If that deal falls through, I will probably do that, and then that way I have even more crappy cars on the side of my house, and it'll be great. And then my neighbors will be really stoked that I have like 3 non-runners deep. Anyways, yeah, so then the neighbors will be happy of all my junkyard that I got going on. It's gonna be wonderful. The next one comes from Racing Ruth. Yes, more Holly videos. That's not verbatim what you said, but that's what I wrote down. I will try to do more of those videos. And I know that last week I was like, oh, I can get to one, I can do one. Well, I pulled the transmission out of my car, and then I left my car on the trailer in my backyard because I don't have another way to get it on there. We used like an electric winch that my buddy had. So if I unloaded the car, I could make videos of stuff, but then I'd have to put it back on the trailer when I go to put the transmission back in. So I'm being lazy, and I'm sorry that I have not done a video on that yet. Although I am going to have to do a boost control video, and then I also got a good, it was a good one the other day on Instagram. The guy said he was talking about vacuum lines and where those go. So I think that that would all obviously go hand in hand. So maybe we can go with the boost controller and explain the whole thing. Maybe I can kind of take my stuff apart and then pretend like this is where it goes and how you would plumb it. So maybe we'll do one of those deals for you guys. But yes, I do have more Holly stuff. I know you guys like the Holly stuff, and the Holly videos do really well. But unfortunately, my car is sitting on a trailer, so it'd be a little awkward for me to get around. I mean, I guess I could, but it'd be weird climbing on a trailer and then telling you like, oh, you should do all this, and here's this guy's car in the trailer. Obviously, it's running great, huh? So yes, we will do more Holly stuff. I'm going to support Holly as much as I can. And I know that sounds backwards, but it's really not, because it's not the cart before the horse. I think if I want them to support me, I got to push their products and, you know, help them out and show them that I'm here and get a following myself before the latter of the two happens. So the other thing, I am definitely getting a dash. As soon as I can afford one of those dash, we're going to stick that in the Maliboom, and I hope that's coming before we get it back to the track. That way I have a working tack. Fun fact, I don't have a working tack in the Maliboom. Yeah, figure that one out. That's how I race. By old school. Like with my 383 stroker by ear, you just shift it by ear. Kyle Orsak, O-R-S-A-K. Kyle, I just butchered your name. I'm sorry. He said if you have a chance, you can watch Sloppy Mechanics for the 4-port setup, because I was talking about using the 4-port and then I went with Holly's 3-port. So that video came out after I made mine, and I do still have the 4-port. I don't know if it's the correct one. I have to double check what I actually bought, because at the time I purchased that, I didn't really know, and I just found a 4-port and bought it. So I had to make sure it's correct for the application. And then when we max the 3-port out, if I need more boost than like 20 pounds, which I don't really know it's going to be in the future before this car really needs to see more than that, we will do it. We will put the 4-port, or I actually have dual 3s, which is similar, but a 4-port only eats up one set of inputs, or outputs I should say, as where a dual would be 2. So I don't know if I'll have the outputs to burn, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. Right now, the most it's seen I think is 10 or 12 pounds at the track, I think is all it's seen. The car's capable. We probably push it somewhere around 20. Somewhat safe, but the tune's got to be dialed in. I don't really want to go over 10 until I feel comfortable on the car, and then we will turn that thing up as much as the wheels and tires can handle it. So that pretty much concludes this week's What's Happening? What's Happening? Is that better?
It's about as bad as it can possibly get.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, click. The other thing too is click the bell. If you want to watch any of my stuff that I come up with, you actually like and enjoy any of this stuff, if you don't click the bell, you're not going to get the notification when I upload new stuff, unless you're just on there every day and you're looking and shopping for things. But maybe you're lazy, maybe you're like, if you click it, at least you'll know I uploaded some stuff. You'll know when they pop up. Granted, I am pretty much on schedule. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. And then these ones are on Thursday. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go tell your friends. Go tell your family. Go tell somebody. Go tell your coffee barista. I know I've said that. Go tell the frozen yogurt person that you're going to go get frozen yogurt when you go after breakfast. Who eats frozen yogurt after breakfast? Oh, jeez.